The WWH show. This is a show that asks a series of why, what, and how questions on topics that have national, regional, and global significance and implications. Today we have such a topic to talk about: why confidence and wisdom are critical for effective leadership. I'm excited to talk about this topic with Sharon Green. She is the president of Alethas Consulting Group LLC. She is a retired Army and author and lecturer at Prince George County College, and also she's certified John Maxwell coach, consultant, and trainer. Welcome to our studio, Sharon.
Oh, wow. I'm excited
to be here. Thank you very much for being here.
Yes.
Let's talk about confidence and wisdom. Most of the time we think that if leaders have communication skills, strategizing, team building, and so on, we think that they are great leaders. But here we're talking about why confidence and wisdom are also very important.
Well, confidence and wisdom, unlike the other characteristics that you just mentioned, they're inside. They come from an internal source of knowing who you are. And so those team building and being a good planner and strategizing and communicating, you can learn how to do those. But when you have confidence in who, so those are the whats. But confidence and wisdom come from a place of who you are and what you're working with internally. And so you can use all of the external things to grow what's already on the inside of you. But you want to have something that is truly given to you to make a difference. And so if everybody's doing the same way, the same stuff, then the opportunity for growth is limited because we think we have arrived.
Yeah, I like the idea of first focusing on within.
Yes.
As you said, I read a book, I don't remember the author, which is entitled as Leadership from Inside Out.
Yes.
So if we are confident enough, if we have wisdom within, it's not difficult that much to develop those leadership skills from outside.
Yeah, exactly. And then another thing, it's easy to stay focused because when you base your leadership on external things change. And so long as you continue to change with every little thing that comes along or somebody's opinion or their rejection, you can't be a focused leader. And so we have to have the wisdom, not necessarily confidence, but you at least have to have the wisdom to remain focused to that which you're assigned to do.
So do you believe that even if somebody has some leadership skills like the ones we discussed about, like communication, strategizing, team building, character, and so on, do you think that they could be successful without confidence and wisdom? At least sustainably successful?
The confidence, I would say yes. Because if you have a great team around you and you can hide out like the wizard in the Wizard of Oz, you can have everybody go and work for you and you be scared. But the wisdom, no, because you would not know how to allow others to serve at a capacity that represents you. You couldn't manage their excellence because you wouldn't know what excellence looked like. And then they would be telling you what to do because you would be scared to render any kind of not punishment or correction. And so you have to have wisdom in order to actually extend correction and extend reward and build up and not tear down and know that it's not about you. It's a team event. It takes wisdom to know that it's a team event. And these are people with people with lives and aspirations for greater things in life. And so they're actually there to serve with you as opposed to just work for you. So you have to have wisdom. But the confidence, you can play it off for a little while.
Okay. So wisdom is the most important thing. But is it possible that someone may have one and may not have the other one?
Very much so.
Tell me a case where somebody has a confidence and then may not have wisdom but is still a leader and may have wisdom but don't have confidence.
I don't know if I should say this, but if you just look not President Obama, but presidents previously, they had confidence. Some of them. I'm not mentioning any names. I'm not even giving you any examples.
But
if you just think about it, they had confidence in their assignment, confidence in their title, confidence in their role, but they didn't necessarily make wise decisions. We didn't make wise decisions because a lot of wise decisions are made because of external things. I want to please the people. I want the people to like me. So I'm not making a wise decision that will be beneficial to everybody. I'm just being wise enough that they'll vote me in office again. So you can have confidence the position can give you confidence, but lack wisdom in your decision making.
As far as confidence and wisdom are important, but we have still some leaders who don't have confidence and wisdom. Why do you think it that?
Well, I think about the leadership training you had. Now, we may get trained on confidence because as a leader, you want to stand and be confident around those that work with you. But you don't. I don't know. Have you ever had training on wisdom?
I never heard of that.
Right. Well, actually, what we call it leadership intuition. And so, leadership intuition is actually another word for wisdom, because intuitively you just kind of know. Nobody told you. You may not have ever been taught, but intuitively you know, and that's from an inward source, which is exactly the same as wisdom. But we don't really call it wisdom because I don't know, because it has a spiritual connotation.
Yeah, people don't want to mention that.
And we don't want to talk about that.
People don't want to even talk about that, ask about that.
Right, they don't want to talk about it.
I'm glad that we're talking about it because it's very important. We have to openly discuss about wisdom. So what is wisdom?
Well, from my vantage point, wisdom is, I just said, is that intuitiveness, but it is of the spirit. It is of your spirit that's on the inside of you. And it's something
about listening your gut, listening.
We say that voice, something told me But it's what's working with on the inside of you. So it's not necessarily something that you can be trained, but it gives you a sense of peace. So you're comfortable in your role here today on the show. You've been doing it for a while. I do my radio show. I'm comfortable if I can wake up and just go to a corner and start teaching because it's inside of me. And so it gives you a sense of stability that you don't have to try to impress people. You don't have to stay up all night trying to learn something because it's just in you. And then we can feel it. I can't really explain it, but it's there.
It's difficult to define it, explain it, but people understand because every successful leader, they have this intuition, discernment, where they know things. They may not be able to put their finger on it. They may not be able to express it, explain it, but they know it. And based on that knowing, they make decisions. Tough decisions, but wise decisions.
Very much so.
I read a book by Malcolm Gladwell. It is called Blink. It talks about snap judgments we make.
Right.
If we are trained, if we develop this internal intuition, we could be able to make decisions within a fraction of seconds, and it may be right. Somebody may take years or months or weeks to make the same decision, and maybe that person may make a wrong decision because of lack of this intuition, snap judgments. So wisdom is very important for us as leaders. But we don't talk about this discernment. But it's very important because with your eyes, with your mind, you can know little things because most of the challenges we face require our sharp, quick decisions. Many of the leaders in governments, in non-profit organizations, corporations, they make instant decisions with little knowledge, with little information and help. If you don't have wisdom, if you don't have intuition, if you don't have discernment, it's very hard to make a very sticky decision within a short period of time with little knowledge and information.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Because those are all the intangibles that we have. We just have to learn how to use them. So you being well educated, having the degrees and the training that will give you all the leadership attributes. But what is the thing that you know that you have wisdom in that can't nobody touch, that goes beyond the schoolwork, that goes beyond the degree?
You're right. Yeah, you're right. My degree, I have a doctorate degree in strategic leadership, majoring in global consulting. I provide trainings in some government agencies like NIH, and also before yesterday, I was invited to give a keynote address on the topic mitigating cultural shock at NASA. I have these kind of opportunities where I give leadership trainings and make coaching and so on, mentoring and so on with leaders. But these are outward things. These are giving trainings, giving speeches, are outward. But most of the insights, the metaphors that I use during trainings, during speech, and so on and so forth, come from my within, from within me. And that within me, I never been taught about it. I never got some experience outwardly, but I take time, I reflect, I sit down, connect dots, try to understand some stories, why they made that kind of decisions. I ask people, try to understand why they act like that, confident like that. And when I see them making tough decisions, I ask them how. And I try to learn from other people, from books and so on. So this intuition, discernment, or wisdom that I have, I'm on the learning curve, of course. Whatever I have inside, I think I developed that through informal means than through my education.
Oh, wow. Well, leaders are learners.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
when we stop learning,
you're done as a leader.
Very much so.
Because you are a shepherd of your sheep, and you have to make sure that you learn and grow ahead of your people, so that you may provide them what they need, meet their aspirations, serve them, and so on. You have to first grow to take them somewhere. If you don't grow, you can't really help them go somewhere they are aspiring to go. The destination they are looking for, you take them there. But if you don't grow, it's very hard for you to take them there.
Yeah. But wisdom allows you to learn from them.
Too, yes, I like that. Yeah.
So the conceit, not confidence. Conceit will say, no, I can't learn from them. But wisdom will say, yes, I can learn something from them too.
Exactly.
And then confidence will allow you to walk in it.
Exactly, because if you don't have confidence, what happens is that you try to be defensive, egotistical. You don't want to admit that you don't know this and that. You don't want to learn from your people. For that matter, the trainings that I provide are experiential, which means people initially, I don't think that they learn from me. They learn first from within themselves and also among themselves. And that experiential learning, I may talk maybe 25% of the time. The majority of the time, they are the one talking. So if I'm wise enough, I have to listen their stories, how they made decisions. I have to listen to their insights, the tools they use, the decision they are making, and so on. I agree. But without confidence, you can't be like that. You always want to be the superstar of that group, and you always want to take decisions. Right now, I have 3 organizations. 2 of them are non-profit organizations, and I have board members. One of the things I do is I want to make sure that the officers take charge, send email, lead some of the projects, be the face of some of our programs. I encourage them, hey, I don't want to be the only one communicating to the board, to our supporters. Why don't you also write emails, send them about this thing that you're doing. As a leader of this department, be the face of that department. Why I do that? Because I learned that I cannot do whatever I want to do by myself. I don't have enough knowledge, experience, wisdom, and intuition. But if I bring people smarter than myself, then I'm wise enough to use their talent, their capability, and their passions towards achieving our common goals.
John Maxwell calls that the law of the inner circle.
Yes.
Instinctively, we want to be around people that's just like us. But in reality, in order to grow, you have to be around people who are strong in your weak areas.
And they should start you.
Exactly. And be confident enough to know that I'm weak in this area, you're strong, let's hang out.
Exactly.
And so I can strengthen the things that I'm really strong in. And as you strengthen yours and we put it together, then we're able to work together. And then you don't have to be intimidated or anything. And then you can allow them to represent you. Because as leaders, we multiply leadership. It's when we stop multiplying leadership and have a bunch of followers that we remain
Yes,
managers.
men and women.
We remain managers. But when you multiply the leadership, then it allows you free time to be creative and to think and to grow while the work is being done by those that you have entrusted with to get it done.
So it's allowing other people to support you and be vulnerable. You to be vulnerable to them is
Wise.
Confident and at the same time wise. Confident because if you are threatened by other people's strength, if you feel like you're ashamed of because of your weaknesses, nobody is perfect. So you have some areas where you're not wired, you're not educated, you're not empowered, or that's not your strength. So rather than focusing on those limitations of yours, why don't you allow other people to work with you and complement you? That requires confidence because you're not threatened, you don't feel ashamed, or you don't feel like you are incomplete.
Exactly.
That's the challenge for many leaders because they can't do everything. Ask me, for example, I'm good in terms of media, I'm good in speaking, training. Ask me to market myself. Because of my cultural background, because I'm not wired like that, I always find people, I admire people who are marketers. I have mentors. I am envious, positively, to see them when they market their products, services, their skills.
Yeah.
I'm learning from them. But this is my limitation. I don't want to struggle. I don't want to pretend that I'm good. I tell people, hey, I'm not good in this. Can you please help me? So that's confidence. Wisdom, because when you become wise, you know that there are great people who could be able to complement you so that you look good in the outside. Because when people see that you are surrounded by diverse people, many of them are smarter than you, people have confidence. For example, if I'm a trainer, if I have an organization, if I go out and try to communicate with my clients, when they see that I have diverse people, smart people behind me,
Right.
They say, hey, I'm not just hiring this guy. I'm hiring the whole team. So it's both confidence and wisdom to engage other people, involve with what we do.
Yeah, we just think about it from a military perspective. I'm the leader, I'm the general, and I get to do everything. It would never work.
Never. Somebody has to fight out the grass.
Yeah. Somebody has to at least write out the mission, and then we have the mission and what's your intent behind it, and what's the situation that we're working with. And if I put myself in a position where I had to be everywhere and make all the decisions, then our armed forces would be horrible.
Exactly.
And so we're definitely trained in that area to trust people, and not just trust people that I've put on my team. Service members come from all over the world. And so when they show up, it's not like, oh, I don't like you, I don't like, no, I got too many men, don't want no men. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You have to take the people that you have, and then you train them. And then once you train them, you give them your expectation. Mm-hmm. And then once they meet the expectation, then you grow. If they don't meet the expectation, we have built in sacrifices
exactly.
that take place. And that's why I think why people in the military are more disciplined. Because we have a set structure. And so in that set structure, it can help your confidence grow. But something happens when we get out the military. We forget just how equipped we are. And so that's why we need discussions like this to remind people that confidence is inward. Lack of confidence comes from outward variables. You're comparing yourself
with others.
Saying
that I don't have this education, I don't have this experience, this is skill. This is outward. We're talking about confidence based on who you are, as you said. You are unique.
Yes.
So you should not compare with anyone else. The moment you do that, you lose confidence. And when you lose confidence, you can't really be an effective leader.
Or you go to the opposite.
Yeah.
You compare yourself with somebody and you lose confidence. Or you compare yourself with somebody and you get conceited.
Yeah. Then in both sides.
Yeah, either way it's wrong.
It's not good. Here is one thing. Many people, I meet them and they say that I want to be humble. I don't want to be proudful. So you see them... Practically, when you see them, they don't have confidence, but they always give this excuse that I don't want to be, prideful. I don't want to be arrogant and so on. Mm-hmm. Because I understand their fear. It's genuine because the delicate line between confidence and pride is very thin. You may cross to the other side and you may not know it. So pride is very dangerous. Pride always comes before fall. Leaders should avoid by all means pride. We're going to talk about what pride means, but for me, pride means to assume that, to act like as if you are somebody else, ignoring who you are, your limitations, and act as if you are perfect, or maybe ignoring the fact that there are better people out there. You are the only person, so you feel like proudful. So you have to be careful to think that you're confident about who you are, but you have to maintain that line, and you should not cross to the other side and be proudful.
Well, my example of pride, first of all, is when your thoughts are about you, your actions are for you, and only the results are all based on your reward. And so that's pride and humility both are inward. It's amazing you mentioned humility. I just taught about, I did a couple classes on humility, because we look at humility as an action. It's how I act. It's what I say.
The way I dress, the way I perform.
People, and I don't exist. That kind of stuff.
I don't know about this. I'm weak. I'm less than you.
That
you
is
better
so
than
far
me.
from what humility
That's
is.
proud. I mean,
it's a humbling of your heart. That's really humble. And humility is also what you have on the inside. Are my actions for my own advantage, or are my actions to bring a team together? Are my actions to actually complete my assignment? The motive behind my actions was either make me prideful or humble. It has nothing to do with, I'm just so lowly. It has nothing to do with that, because you can be confident and humble at the same time. Like when I'm in charge, I take charge. Whether you agree or not is irrelevant, because I'm in charge. I'm the one that's responsible. I'm not making decisions to harm you. Mm-hmm. And so in making those decisions, you may not agree with them, but they're the best for the entire organization. And so as you balance that, it's why do we do what we do? It's not because I'm just lowly and I want people to know that I love you. I love you, I tell you the truth. Yeah. You know, I love you, I correct you. Mm-hmm. And so you can't even base it off of the action. It's the why behind it. Because in humility is when you value others more than yourself. Or pride, you're only thinking about you. Exactly. You really could care less about, we're going to get this done, it's going to be right, and I'm going to get my reward. I'm going to get my, my bonus. It's all about you. That's when pride is at its best, and then, like you said, it's the beginning of a fall, because now you're losing the respect of your people. And so in the humility part, you honor your people, but you're still confident enough to lead them. Yeah. So pride, you have to have that balance.
Yeah. Pride is also to take credit when things go well and to avoid responsibility when things go wrong. I also want to talk about a little bit on humility, because some people, as you said, they express outwardly in a way that looks like they are humble, but inside, in their heart, they may be prideful.
Well, they're thinking about themselves.
Exactly. So for me, that what I want our audience know, that you can be humble at the same time confident, as you said. I can give you an example. Humility doesn't mean that I deny who I am, my uniqueness, my attributes, what I have, and so on. It's about I embrace who I am, what I have. I don't deny that, but I don't want what I have, who I am, to stop me from relating and associating and learning from other people. Let's say I'm rich. It's not humility to say that I'm poor. I'm rich. Let's say that I'm educated. It's not proudful to say I'm educated. I am. To say, oh, I'm not educated, it's not humility. I embrace that I'm rich. I embrace that I am good in this and that. Yes. I have this and that. But at the same time, my reach should not stop me from relating with poor people. My education should not stop me from learning people who are not maybe educated like myself. Right. So we have to know the balance between having confidence, and owning who you are and what you have. At the same time, be open to relate with others, to learn from others, so that you know that it's not all about you. You do great things when you work with others, when you learn from others, but humility is not about degrading yourself.
No.
It's really is hypocrisy for me.
Actually, because it's the gifts that you have on the inside that you're willing to share. And then pride is completely the opposite. It is trying to get all that it can for itself.
Exactly.
And whereas humility, you explained it lovely. It's the gift that you have, the qualities that you have, everything you have that's a benefit to this world. I'm willing to share it to other people. And that's important because you value other people. And that is the main principle behind humility. It's when we deny self enough to value other people. Not deny self like I don't exist, or deny self like I didn't achieve these accomplishments. But it's to deny self to know that I think enough of another person to help them grow, to help them see a better life, to lead them in ways that they can lead themselves. And that's why humility is so important, and it goes so well with confidence, because you have to know who you are and what you're working with in order to give someone a part of it.
Yeah. How do we know the difference between leaders who are confident and wise and those who are not?
The fruit.
The fruit. I like that.
Fruit.
Tell me a little bit more on that.
The fruit is what comes from their lives, in the lives of other people. Because you can look like you're really confident and you're wise because you have a great company or organization and it's getting a lot of rewards and it's getting a lot of popularity, and you personally may have had nothing to do with it. But when the people that you lead start producing great results because of what they're receiving from you and your example and your leadership, then you know there's something good there. Because you could be at the top, but the people underneath you could be the ones that are truly doing the leading. And so you can tell the life of a good leader through the lives of other people. And if they're not producing fruit through the life of another person, then it's just, you're managing people who come to work and go home. And
exactly.
It has no really long-lasting reward. And we wanted to have leadership is not just being in charge, it's equipping people for life.
Yeah, empowering them. Your success is dependent on how many people you raise under your influence. If you don't have people around you, you can't achieve much by yourself. There are penalties also when we don't have leaders who are confident and wise. This is because when they don't have confidence, that means they don't have self-worth. When somebody doesn't have self-worth, it's likely that they're going to tear down others, intimidate others, undermine others. Because if I don't have a good image or a good acceptance of myself or appreciation of who I am, it's very difficult for me to appreciate the uniqueness of others. Yes. So lack of confidence may cost an organization, team, and so on and so forth. The same with lack of wisdom. If a leader is not wise, that person may make some risky decisions, costly partnerships, and so on and so forth, or miss great opportunities, or miss great potentials like his or her people, because he or she doesn't have the wisdom to use the talent and the potential of their people. So it's also costly not to have confident and wise leaders.
Yeah, well, a lot of leaders won't ask. For whatever reason, we stop asking questions. And asking your people, how was my leadership? Doing an assessment of your organization is a good thing to do, because then you'll know what you're working with. Because I think I'm great. The stats prove it. I'm wonderful. But your people, if they had to come to work for free, would they come? If you had something that was personal in nature, would they be impacted by it? And so even in all of the confidence and the wisdom, I keep going back to people because that's, our most precious commodity. What does it really look like? Because it can look good.
I want to quote from Norman Vincent Peale.
Okay.
He's one of the greatest motivational speakers that I admire. He said that believe in yourself, have faith in your abilities. Without a humble but reasonable confidence in your own powers, you cannot be successful or happy. So it's obvious you have to have that confidence on yourself. When you do that, you are doing favor for yourself, the people around you, and also for your organization and nation. I also want to quote what Nelson Mandela said. He said that a good head and a good heart are always a formidable combination.
Very much so.
My question then is, because he said heart is a place of wisdom, where we develop our wisdom. So how can we develop our confidence and wisdom so that we will have both formidable head and heart
at the same time? Well, you're your best, You're your best supporter. You're supposed to be.
Cheerleader of yours.
You're your best cheerleader. So I don't say affirmations every day, but I do say positive things about me. And so saying positive things about me is not growing up me being prideful, but as far as being here to make an example, to be the example, being here to help other people. And so I continue to learn. You read a lot of books. You go to different events where you're like the dumbest person in the room. You take a lot of notes. And then in taking those notes, you can hear what other people are experiencing. You keep the stuff that makes sense to your heart. Not makes sense. That makes sense to you, how you feel good about it. And then the rest of the stuff, you throw it away. Because you can't get all your information from 1,000 different sources. But you still want to be around somebody who has the experience, who has the reputation, whose fruits show that they're worthy of, imitating. And then you build yourself up that way. But at the end of the day, the wisdom that's on the inside of you will tell you what to keep and tell you what to throw away. Because the things that we keep, we want to grow those. And then as we grow them, then our head is going to continue to grow. Our understanding is going to continue to grow. And then the wisdom in itself is always consistently on point. It's the head doubt that causes a problem. But wisdom is the bridge between knowledge and understanding, which pushes you to do. So you got the knowledge, now you got to understand it. And now you understand it, you got to do something with it.
Exactly.
And so it all works together when we really stop to take the time to say, I've been to all these classes, went to all these events, I got all these degrees, and what am I doing with it? And so that's how we get together. It does, we need each other. We need to have these conversations. Yeah. We're never too grown to continue to learn. That's why I joined John Maxwell's team. After serving in the military for 20-something years, I know how to lead. I know how to take responsibility for good and bad actions. I know how to honor others above myself. But I said, well, how do civilians do this?
So you want to make the shift.
Yes. I want to be kind and gentle. So joining his team, definitely, getting leadership from a different perspective and being around leaders from all around the world was priceless. So you take what you need, and then the rest of it you may put on the shelf. Some of it you may throw away, like, no, I'm never going to do that.
Yeah, it's not relevant anymore.
Yes, that's just, no. People are telling you what to do. So you use what you can, but it's still so available to us. There's nothing we have to do alone.
So you're saying that for us to develop confidence, we should use affirmation and also go get trainings and so on. I like that because sometimes, especially at the early stage of my leadership, I didn't have confidence. So I have to develop confidence within me. I had those all external excuses. Oh, I am this, I don't have that. So I remember the first time when I stood in front of my peers in the early 90s, I was shaking and I didn't know what to say. Within 5 minutes, I thought like I was there 5 hours. I wanted to run away from the stage. I was sweating. I didn't have confidence. So the first thing I did at that moment, because I read some books and I got suggestions, the suggestions that you mentioned, I stood in front of the mirror talking myself like a mad person.
Those are affirmations.
Affirmation,
right?
yeah.
Yes.
I say, hey, you have to be confident. You have something to give to others. I talk to myself in front of a mirror and tell my inner person to have confidence and strength.
Very much so.
So even still sometimes like yours, I don't do it every day, but sometimes when I feel like I have to do it, I sometimes stand in front of my living room and then declare about who I am, so that I develop my confidence, so that I reaffirm to myself who I am, what my weakness, my uniquenesses are, what area of strength I have, what areas of weaknesses I have, how can I strengthen those areas for which I don't have strength, whom I should bring in my life. I meditate, I think, reflect, and so on and so forth. I also suggest, I do that, I also suggest people to read the biographies of those role models that we are trying to emulate. Leaders, our coach, our mentors, we should find. I read many biographies. I have 2-3 biographies I should read. I have the books, I'm waiting to read them. Why I do that? Because I want to learn from the people who walked ahead of me, how they faced challenges, how they stood confident in the middle of challenges. I want to learn from their mistakes so that I may not repeat them and so on. The other thing I recommend, as you said, go and get trainings, go and get coaches and mentors. That way you develop confidence. When you associate yourself with successful people, great people, you start to develop confidence.
Very much so.
Yeah, if you stay with people who don't have confidence, if you associate with this kind of people all the time, what happens is that they impose on you their feelings, because you can't avoid that. You can't just fellowship with with sheep and goats and act like you can be a lion. It's impossible. You have to hang out with lions. You have to be it's impossible to spend time with sheep and then go out and be a lion. It's impossible. On the wisdom part also, I suggest that most of the time we don't spend time to sit down alone to increase our self-awareness, because wisdom comes the more we are aware about ourselves, our environments. The challenge is that most of the time we are busy, we don't sit down, we don't connect dots, and most importantly, wisdom is the application of knowledge. Many of us have knowledge. We read books, we attend trainings and so on, but we have to take it to the next level, which means we have to apply it. Whenever I read a book, for example, one of the things I would do is what kind of changes I should bring in my life, in my organizations, because I read this book. When I attend a training, I say, okay, what kind of changes, new changes I should make in my life, in my organizations? I will start to implement, test whatever I learned. Sometimes it may not work, but at least I learned some wisdom. At least I know, like the person, I forgot his name, the one who discovered light bulbs. Edison. He said that I practiced, I think he tested 1,000 times.
Yes.
So he said that was no failure, because I learned it not to do 1,000 ways of not doing it. So when you practice something out there, when you fail, it's not a failure. You learn it now not to do in that way anymore. So you learn some wisdom.
But one thing, when you first started off, when you were saying about in your living room when you talk to yourself, the affirmations, when you talk to you, should supersede when I talk to you.
Exactly.
And so when you're telling yourself something and someone else says something else, it would give you righteous indignation, like, oh, no, that's not me.
Exactly.
And so that's why that is so important. And so confidence and wisdom are two areas that I would say they enhance the rest of it.
Exactly. How can organizations help their leaders develop confidence and wisdom?
That's a good question.
How? I mean, they have to find ways to increase the confidence of their people, the wisdom of their people. Do you think there are something that organizations should do?
Well, you mentioned some really great points. The confidence is usually get out there and do it. You can do this. Rah, rah, rah. Yes, we're one team. So, then you start thinking, yes, we're the best. We got the best team. And then, that kind of stuff. It works for a little while until something happens. That's why confidence has to be inside. And even in the training, when you're teaching the motivational things that help your leaders to grow, I strongly recommend that you actually teach them who they are. Like I always use a story about sperm,
Okay.
which I'm sure you might have heard. I'm sure you all might have heard it too. But I use it a lot because think about it, of 140 million sperm going for one egg. You can see them. They running with each other. They're trying to pull each other back. I know they only got
one outrunning the other.
Then they get to the egg and they fight. No, I'm gonna get this one's behind.
To break in,
and you won. You won the most important race of your life. You did not win in order to lose now. And so when you think about just that alone, you won.
You didn't come by accident. You didn't come easily.
No.
There were so many fights to bring you out.
Very much so. And so
how unique you are. Your fingerprint, your heart rhythm, your retina scan is unique. Nobody had them.
Very much so. And so when we teach just simple principles like that, and then because I don't want to hear all that. I didn't come here to hear that. Well, you may not have come here to hear that, but it's something that you will remember. And so as leaders, when we just recognize the importance of our lives, we can help others recognize the importance of theirs. And then when we sit and be alone, like you were talking, when you sit and you meditate and you reflect, well, I got this wrong 1,000 times. I know what not to do. And then you reflect on, I was over here, and the first time I ever spoke, I was shaking. But ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, people don't know what you're going to say.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't know what you're going to say unless you tell us that you don't know. We don't even know that you're nervous unless your voice is cracking, and your voice is cracking because you are nervous. But if you just stop and inward say, why am I nervous? I don't even know these people. But I'm here because I got a family to take care of. I'm here because I'm valuable. You can motivate yourself right on the spot.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's not about you, so forget about those all comments.
It'll help the nervousness go right away when you have a motive that's greater than why you think you're nervous. And that nervousness comes from you thinking about you.
Yeah, I enjoyed our discussion, and thank you very much for coming on behalf of ISAT and our viewers. Thank you very much for coming.
Having me.
Dear our viewers, I hope that you enjoyed our discussion and you took some lessons from our discussion about the importance of confidence and wisdom. As a leader, you need to develop your confidence and wisdom, and at the same time, you should also help your people so that you have great team of people who could be able to help you succeed. Until I see you next time, have a wonderful time. Thank you for watching. Thank you.